The arrival of the Great Hall of the Galactic Council was full. More than 50 different alien species were seated, their faces serious, their eyes focused on the center of the chamber. Tall screens floated above them, showing information in many languages. The topic today was simple but dangerous. The humans had arrived. For weeks, the Council had been talking about Earth, a new species, a Deathworld species, one of the most dangerous planets ever discovered. The life forms on Earth were tough, wild, and deadly. But the most dangerous life form was the human. Until now, humans had stayed quiet, watching from the edge of the galaxy. But recently, their ships were seen near important trade routes. A few powerful species were worried. And when humans sent a request to speak in front of the Council, everyone became nervous. And now, the moment had come. 2 humans walked into the chamber. The guards at the doors stepped back, their hands shaking slightly. One human was a man, tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp eyes and short black hair. He wore dark military clothing, clean but strong. His name was Reed. The other was a woman, calm and confident, with a smooth voice and steady eyes. She wore a simple coat and had a small device in her hand for translating alien languages. Her name was Mara. They walked side by side, heads held high, not fast, not slow. Their footsteps echoed in the silent hall. Many aliens stared at them with fear, others with curiosity, a few with hate. The Council chairman, a thin gray creature with 4 eyes and a long neck, stood up from the seat. "You are welcome, humans of Earth," the chairman said, voice cold. "State your purpose." Reed said nothing. He stood straight, hands behind his back. Mara stepped forward. "We are here to speak clearly," she said, her voice calm but strong. "We represent Earth. We do not come as enemies. But we do not come as beggars either." A low murmur moved through the crowd. "You are a new species," the chairman replied. "You must understand that the galaxy follows rules. The Accord exists to keep peace. You cannot enter space as you wish, like wild animals." Reed took 1 step forward. "We are not animals," he said in a low voice. Everyone went silent. Reed looked around the hall. His eyes were sharp, cold, and steady. He was not angry. He was not scared. He was just watching. Mara continued. "We heard what you called us. Deathworlders. You are right. Earth is a death world. It has volcanoes, earthquakes, storms, predators, and poison. Our world taught us to survive, to adapt, to fight. That is who we are." A large, blue-skinned alien stood up and shouted, "That is why you are dangerous. You are not ready for peace." Mara turned to him, eyes calm. "We want peace, but we won't crawl for it." Gasps filled the room. The chairman banged his staff. Silence. Reed slowly removed his coat. Underneath, he wore a high-density armor vest, scratched and battle-worn. A few guards took a step forward, unsure. Reed raised his hands, not in surrender, but to show he held no weapons. "We didn't come to ask," he said. "We came to inform." Now everyone was quiet. Even the chairman froze for a moment. Mara spoke again, softer now. "We have seen the stars. We have seen your ships. We know you are more advanced in many ways. But do not think we are weak. Our people have lived through ice ages, wars, plagues, and disasters. And yet, here we are, standing in your great hall." A young alien delegate leaned to another and whispered, "They are not like other species." Another one whispered back, "They are worse." Mara heard them. She smiled slightly. Then she looked at the chairman. "You wanted to control us, limit us. We understand you are afraid." The chairman narrowed his eyes. "You misunderstand. We are not afraid. We are careful. We have seen war. We know what happens when dangerous species rise too fast." Reed tilted his head. "And what do you do when one rises faster than you can stop?" The words hit like a hammer. Some delegates stood. Some sat frozen. The guards looked to their leaders, unsure what to do. Mara took one last step forward. This is not a threat. This is truth. Earth is not coming to burn your stars. We only want to walk among them. But if you try to chain us, she paused, her voice suddenly hard, you will see what a Deathworld really means. She turned. Reed followed. They began walking back toward the exit. Before leaving, Reed looked over his shoulder. We will wait for your decision. And then, they were gone. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. One elder delegate finally spoke. They are not like the others. No, another replied. They are something new. Fear in the chamber. After Reed and Mara left the council chamber, silence still filled the air. The alien delegates sat stiff in their seats, unsure what to say. The chairman slowly sat down, his hands tight around the arms of his chair. His eyes were fixed on the door where the humans had exited. Everyone had heard the stories about Deathworlders, but now they had seen them with their own eyes. And that changed everything. In a small room behind the chamber, a private discussion began. Only the highest-ranking delegates were allowed to join. They spoke with no fear, said a red-scaled alien with glowing eyes. Even when the guards moved, they didn't blink. They showed strength, another said, but they didn't attack. They gave us a warning, not a war cry. The chairman rubbed his forehead slowly. Yes, but even a warning from Deathworlders is dangerous. While the council whispered behind closed doors, Reed and Mara walked through the long hallway of the Accord building. Alien guards followed from a distance, not trying to stop them, only watching. Everyone they passed stared, whispered, or turned away. Inside a private meeting room, Reed sat down and removed his gloves. His hands were marked with small scars, each one a memory from Earth. Mara looked out the tall glass window. Stars filled the sky. Somewhere out there, their ship waited in orbit. That went better than expected, she said calmly. Reed raised an eyebrow. Did it? We weren't shot, she replied with a small smile. That's something. Reed didn't smile. He leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. They fear us. And fear can be useful or deadly. Mara nodded. We gave them truth. Now we see what they do with it. Meanwhile, deep inside the Accord's central archive, a group of alien researchers were pulling up Earth's data file. It had been marked Extreme Risk, Class 5 Deathworld. The file opened with a large red warning sign. Then came videos. Images of Earth storms, volcanoes, floods, wild animals, and toxic plants. Clips of human wars, survival missions, and space training. One alien with silver skin whispered, "How do they live in that chaos?" Another replied, "They don't just live. They grow stronger because of it." The screen showed a short video of a human child, no more than 10 years old, running through a snowstorm, laughing, her coat barely enough for the cold. The alien researcher turned off the screen. Even their children are trained by the world to be warriors. Back in the council hall, the public meeting continued. One young alien delegate, thin and green-skinned, stood up. His voice was nervous but angry. We cannot allow them to roam free. They will bring war. Their own words show they do not respect the council's laws. A thicker, armored delegate from a desert planet replied, "Maybe they don't respect weakness. Maybe it's time we earned their respect instead of demanding it." The younger alien hissed. "They are violent. They said they would not kneel." "And did they fire a single weapon?" the armored one asked. "Did they threaten us directly?" "No, they stood firm and told the truth. We are the ones who feel weak. That is not their fault." The hall filled with voices. Some shouted, some argued, some stayed quiet. Up on the platform, the chairman leaned back and looked at the high screens again. The human's image was still there, Reed standing tall, Mara speaking with steady eyes. He couldn't deny what he saw. They walked into this chamber like soldiers, the chairman said aloud. But they spoke like leaders. Later that evening, in another part of the city, 3 council guards sat in a quiet room, drinking warm, light blue liquid. One of them asked, "Did you see his eyes?" "Which one?" "The male," he whispered. "Reed." I looked at him when I thought about drawing my blaster. He didn't flinch. Didn't even look worried. It was like he knew. "I wouldn't do it," the other nodded. "That armor he wore ... It looked like it had seen 100 battles." The third one leaned closer. "And that woman, Mara, she talked like she'd already seen what we might do, and she didn't care." The first guard stared into his drink. They weren't just here to talk, they were measuring us. Back on their ship, Reed and Mara prepared to send their report to Earth. Mara sat at the table, typing carefully. We told them the truth. We didn't bend, we didn't beg. Reed checked the security systems. "But we didn't push too far either," Mara nodded. "Exactly. If they want peace, we will meet them in peace. But if they want control, then they will learn what a Deathworld means," Reed finished. There was a short silence between them. "Do you think they'll try to strike first?" Mara asked. Reed shrugged. "Some of them might. Fear makes people do stupid things." Mara looked at the stars again. "Let's hope they're smarter than that." Back in the council hall, the chairman stood once more before the gathered delegates. "Enough shouting," he said firmly. "We cannot decide in fear. We must decide with reason." He looked at each delegate slowly. "Tomorrow we will vote. Either we accept Earth as an equal member of the Accord, or we choose to act against them." He paused. "But let me say this. If we choose to make enemies of Deathworlders, we must understand the price." The hall was silent again. Outside, the stars watched quietly, waiting. The threat and the warning. The next morning, the council hall was full again. Every seat was taken. Delegates sat stiff, their faces cold, their minds full of fear and questions. Today was the vote. Today, the council would decide how to deal with Earth. Outside the hall, the news of the human visit had already spread. Across the galaxy, people were talking. Some called the humans brave. Others called them a danger. But all agreed on one thing: they were not to be ignored. Inside the chamber, the chairman stood in the center, his long robe flowing behind him. "We are here to discuss the humans of Earth," he said. "They have asked for a place among us. But many of you believe they are too dangerous. So we must decide, do we welcome them? Or do we stop them before they grow too powerful?" He looked around the room. "Each of you will speak your mind. And then we vote." The first to speak was a thin, tall creature with silver skin. His voice was sharp. "They are too aggressive," he said. "Their planet is full of danger, and they have adapted to it by becoming violent. They will bring war, not peace." Next, a round, slow-speaking delegate from a peaceful water world disagreed. "Yes, they are strong, but they also showed respect. They came without weapons. They spoke with honesty. That is more than many species have done." One by one, the voices rose, some in fear, some in hope, some unsure. Then a younger delegate stood. He was from a planet where war had destroyed half his people. "I watched the human named Reed," he said. "He reminded me of our warriors before they fell. But he also reminded me of our leaders, the ones who brought peace after the war. He was both, and that scares me." Many nodded. Some looked down. At the back of the room, guards stood ready. Quiet, still, watching. Suddenly, a large delegate stood up. He had armor-like skin and a deep voice. "We speak of fear," he said. "But fear alone cannot guide our path. Let us ask the humans to return. Let us speak again before we decide." A few delegates agreed. Some whispered against it. But before the chairman could speak, a sound came from the back of the hall. Footsteps. Everyone turned. Reed and Mara walked into the chamber once again. No one stopped them. They walked slowly to the center of the room. Reed nodded once. Mara held a small data device. "You speak of fear," she said. "That is fair. But we did not come to scare you. We came to be clear." Reed stepped forward. "You want to know who we are, what we can do, why you should accept us or stop us." He tapped the small badge on his chest. A signal was sent. Above the council hall, the large skyview screens changed. A fleet of ships appeared in space. Sleek, dark, and powerful. They hovered near the moon of the Accord's central planet. Gasps filled the chamber. Mara raised her hand. "This is not an invasion. This is a message. We came prepared. We came to talk, but not to beg." The chairman stood, shaking slightly. "You bring weapons to a council meeting?" "No," Reed said calmly. "We brought truth. We told you we will not kneel." Some guards reached for weapons. Mara raised her voice. "We are not here to fight," she said. "But understand, this Earth is not alone anymore. We have built. We have learned. We have survived everything our world threw at us. Now we have reached the stars." One of the delegates shouted, "This is blackmail." "No," Reed replied. "This is a warning." He stepped closer to the center. "We do not want war. But if war comes, we will not run. We never have." Silence returned. No one moved. Mara looked around slowly. "Do not judge us by the danger of our world. Judge us by how we rose above it." Another delegate, older and quiet until now, finally spoke. "You are Deathworlders," he said. "But you do not speak like beasts. You speak like those who understand pain and still choose peace." Mara nodded once. "Yes, that is who we are." The chairman stared at the sky screen. Then at the humans. "What will you do if we say no?" he asked. Reed's voice was cold, but not cruel. "Then we go our own way. We won't bow to anyone, but we won't strike first." The chairman asked one more question. "And if we try to stop you?" Mara looked straight into his eyes. "Then we'll show you why our planet is called a death world." The words were soft, but they hit like thunder. The chairman slowly sat down. He looked tired. He raised his hand. "The council will vote." The humans stepped back and stood near the wall, watching. No more threats. No more speeches. The delegates cast their votes one by one. The chamber lights changed as each vote was counted. Red for no, green for yes. When the final light turned green, the chamber went quiet again. The chairman stood. "The council has decided. Earth will be recognized as a free and equal member of the Galactic Accord." Mara smiled. Just a little. Reed said nothing. The chairman looked at them both. "Do not make us regret this." Reed gave a short nod. "Don't give us a reason to." That night, news of the vote spread across the galaxy. Some cheered, some cursed. But one thing was clear: the humans were here. And they were not leaving. On their ship, Reed and Mara sat in silence. "We did it," Mara said quietly. Reed looked out the window. "No, we just began." And beyond the stars, new eyes were watching. Chaos unleashed the next day. The Galactic Council building was filled with noise. Some delegates were shouting in protest. Others spoke calmly in support. News channels from every corner of the galaxy were reporting the same story. Earth had been accepted as a member of the Accord. Some planets celebrated, others prepared for war. Inside the Council's high tower, the chairman sat with his closest advisors. His face looked older, his voice low. "We gave them a place," he said. "But many in the Council still fear them. Fear can become fire if we're not careful." One advisor, nervous and thin, leaned forward. "Some delegates are angry. They say the humans forced us, that they used their fleet as pressure." "They did," the chairman replied. "But they didn't fire a single shot. And that is what makes them even more dangerous." At the same time, Reed and Mara sat on their ship, orbiting above the Accord's capital planet. They watched the news, the votes, the protests. Some aliens burned flags with Earth's symbol. Others held signs that read, "Welcome Deathworlders." Mara leaned back in her seat. Half the galaxy fears us. The other half wants to join us. Reed crossed his arms. Good. That means they're watching. That means they're listening. A soft beep came from the ship's console. A private message arrived coded. Direct. Mara opened it. The message was short. Some council members are planning to remove you. Not by vote. Be careful. Reed stood immediately. We knew this was coming. Mara nodded. Yes, but we didn't think they'd move so fast. Reed checked their weapons. If they think we're weak, let them try. Down in the city below, a secret meeting was taking place. 6 delegates had gathered in a dark chamber. These were not diplomats, they were power-hungry leaders, afraid of what the humans represented. They must be dealt with, one said. Quietly, no open war, no questions. We will blame pirates, said another, or an accident. A third one leaned forward. I have already sent orders to a special security unit. They will intercept the human ship, tonight. No one in that room knew that every word was being recorded by a hidden human drone floating near the ceiling. That night, the city's sky glowed with stars and ships. Above, Reed and Mara waited silently. Inside their ship, the lights dimmed. Red warnings flashed across the screens. Incoming, Mara said. 5 ships. No ID, no official calls. Reed stared at the screen. They're jamming signals, trying to make it look like a pirate ambush. They really think we're not ready, Mara said. Reed pressed a button. The ship's outer shields activated. Let's show them how. Wrong they are. The enemy ship surrounded them fast. They sent no warnings, no demands, they just fired. But the human ship was not a normal one. It was built for danger. Built by people who lived every day with storms, beasts, and war. The first 2 blasts hit the shields and bounced off. Reed activated the defense system. Return fire, but aim close. Scare them, don't destroy. Laser beams fired from the human ship, bright, fast and accurate. They hit near the engines of the enemy ships, disabling them without causing full damage. One enemy ship tried to run. Mara locked it with a signal jammer. The ship froze in space. Inside the enemy fleet, panic spread. Their target wasn't running. It was playing with them. Reed opened a channel. His voice was cold, calm. This is Reed of Earth. You attacked a diplomatic ship. You failed. Stand down or be removed. Silence. Then, the enemy ships powered down. Slowly, carefully, they turned and drifted away. Mara looked at Reed. That was too easy. Reed nodded. Because they were told we wouldn't fight back. The next morning, the council chamber was chaos. The news of the failed ambush had reached every corner of the galaxy. Reed and Mara had already sent the recording of the secret meeting to every delegate. It showed the faces of the 6 traitors, their words, their plans. Now, those 6 delegates sat in silence, heads lowered, surrounded by guards. The chairman stood, his voice louder than ever before. You tried to destroy what we built. You tried to kill envoys under protection. You have brought shame to this council. The guilty delegates were removed. The rest of the council stared at Reed and Mara, who stood once again in the center of the hall. This time, there was no fear in the air. Only respect and silence. Mara spoke softly. We didn't come here to start a war. We came to stop one before it could begin. Reed looked around the room. We are not your enemies. Unless you make us your enemies. The chairman walked down from his platform. For the first time, he stood face to face with the humans. You stood your ground, he said, and you gave us a choice. Some made the wrong one, but not all of us. Reed gave a short nod. We remember who chose peace. The chairman held out his hand. Mara shook it. The cameras flashed. Across the galaxy, billions watched as humans were welcomed not with fear, but with respect. That night, Reed and Mara stood on a balcony, looking out at the stars. It could have gone worse, Mara said. Reed smirked. It still might. Mara turned to him. Do you regret coming here? Reed shook his head. No, we showed them what Earth is made of. That's enough. Mara looked up at the sky, and now the whole galaxy knows. Behind them, the lights of the city burned bright, but above them, Earth's flag now flew beside the Accord's emblem. The Pugurth emblem. Deathworlders had arrived, and they were here to stay. The legend begins. It had been 1 week since the failed attack on the human ship. 1 week since the secret plot was exposed. And now the mood in the galaxy had changed. The story of Reed and Mara had spread to every system. People were no longer just talking about humans as Deathworlders. Now they spoke about them as warriors, as survivors, as beings who chose peace but would never run from war. Inside the Galactic Council headquarters, security was tighter. Delegates looked over their shoulders more carefully. No one wanted to make the same mistake twice, and at the center of this change were two humans, Reed and Mara, now had their own office in the council tower. It was small, simple, and quiet. Just the way they liked it. Mara was reading reports. Many planets were now requesting trade and communication with Earth. Some even wanted human training in security and defense. Reed stood by the window, arms crossed, looking at the stars. They're all coming now, Mara said. The same ones who wanted us gone now want to be our friends. Reed didn't smile. They fear being left behind. That's how power works out here. Mara looked at him. Do you think Earth is ready for this much attention? Reed replied, Earth has always been ready. The galaxy just didn't know it yet. Later that day, a special council gathering was held. It wasn't about politics or votes this time. It was a ceremony. For the first time in many years, a new member species was being officially welcomed, not as a guest, but as an equal. The hall was filled with light. Delegates wore their finest robes. Flags of different worlds waved in the air. In the center, the Accord banner flew high. The chairman stood at the front, beside an empty podium. Then the doors opened. Reed and Mara entered. Not in armor, not in uniforms, but in formal clothes, simple and clean, no weapons, no shields, just themselves. The room stood in silence. The chairman raised his voice. On this day, the Galactic Accord welcomes Earth as a full and equal member. Their people have shown strength. But more than that, they have shown restraint, honor, and truth. He turned to face them. Mara, Reed, do you accept the Accord's hand in peace? Mara nodded once. We accept peace. Reed added, but never chains. There was a pause. Then the chairman gave a small smile. Then may this alliance last longer than stars. The room broke into applause. Not all clapped, but none walked out. For now, peace had won. That night, the two humans sat on the rooftop of their new building. The stars stretched across the sky like silver dust. Below them, the city lights shimmered. It's strange, Mara said, sipping a warm drink. All this began with a meeting. Just two of us walking into a room full of aliens. Reed looked at her. And now the room's a little less alien. They both laughed for the first time in days. Then Reed grew quiet. You know this won't last forever. Mara nodded. Yes, but we've changed something. That matters. Reed stared at the stars. Do you think Earth will stay this peaceful once we have more power? Mara answered slowly. Only if we remember who we are, where we came from. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Mara added, do you want to go home? Reed thought about Earth, its forests, mountains, cities, and storms. He nodded. Soon, But first, we build something here. Back on Earth, people watched the ceremony. Children in schools cheered. Old soldiers smiled. Scientists and explorers began packing bags to visit other planets. Humanity had stepped into the galaxy, and now there was no going back. Across other worlds, reactions were mixed. Some feared what humans would do next. Others wanted to learn from them. A few hoped to challenge them. But all understood one truth now: Earth was not weak. Earth was not tame. Earth was something new. Weeks later, a young alien cadet walked into the training hall on one of Earth's new space stations. It was built just outside the Accord Central System. The hall was large, clean, and full of life. The cadet stood at attention. A voice called out, "You're late." He turned and saw Reed, now wearing a black training uniform, arms behind his back. The cadet bowed quickly. "I'm sorry, sir." Reed raised a hand. "Don't say sorry, just be better." The cadet nodded. Reed walked down the line of new recruits, alien and human alike. All had come to learn, to grow stronger, to understand how to survive in a galaxy that was changing fast. "This station," Reed said, "is not for war. It is for strength, the kind that keeps war away." He looked around the room. "We don't teach you how to destroy. We teach you how to stand, and if needed, how to stand alone." Mara entered then, holding a data pad. She spoke to the group. "You are the first of many. From now on, the galaxy will not be divided by fear, but by choice. Stand with truth, or fall with lies." The room stood silent. Reed gave one last order: begin training. The cadets moved, and the future began. From that day forward, the story of Reed and Mara became legend. They were known as the first Deathworlders to walk into the council and leave everyone terrified, not because they were violent, but because they were unshakable, not because they shouted, but because they refused to kneel. Across the stars, the name of Earth was no longer whispered in fear. It was spoken with respect. And in time, other Deathworlders' silent, forgotten worlds began to rise, inspired by the two who stood alone and made the galaxy listen. The end.